Hi, good evening. This is Wen. As promised, I am delivering this another introduction of online version of OSCM3340. This sort of serves as an orientation of what to expect after we have transitioned the course into the online format. Okay, the list of topics including the principles and the different type of online interactions we can have, and what are some weekly arrangements and what are some changes in our syllabus, and as well as the tools that you need to get familiar in order to navigate through the online course. So yeah, none of us actually expected this coming transition from in-person class to totally online class, not even a fusion class. So I'm really upset that I don't get to see you guys at least until the end of the semester. But it looks like this is, for now, this is the best arrangement we can have. So let's dive right in. So first, principles. Okay, let me open up the screen. So when I was thinking of what area I should be careful when I rearrange the components in this class because of the current situation, I thought that at least these are three things that's very important, that I need to stick on those principles as I change the format of the class. The number one is certainly there's no cutback in terms of number of topics we're going to cover in this particular class. We have covered a lot. Covered at least, I would say at least 60% of the topics I plan to cover in this class, and the remaining 40% are very important. I'm not planning to cut back on those topics because that will degrade the amount of knowledge you need to know in terms of this area. So there's certainly no cutback on topics, no matter what it takes. Okay? The second thing is the change should not introduce unfair advantage or disadvantage for some people. So this is including the when and how we meet together. So a lot of you choose the 5:30 p.m. class because you have to work during the daytime. I expect that for those of you, a lot of you still have to work during the daytime. So unless there are unanimous agreements that we can meet in a different time, we are still going to meet original 5:30 p.m. because those who are working, they still have to work. So 5:30 p.m. is our original choice. So I decided to stick to the original choice. And the next disadvantage could be on your side because I'm the one who's recording. It doesn't mean that you don't have opportunity or chance to talk. So I try to implement a lot of technical solutions so that you can also ask me a question in as long as you are agreed to use certain tools, so that both way of communication is actually guaranteed after this change. So that's another thing I thought in my mind. The third thing is we should not reduce the teaching quality because of this change. So in the online format of teaching, there is a good chance that it is very tempting for you to participate in some opportunistic behaviors. So to prevent those from happening, to prevent those from degrading our teaching and learning quality, I wanted to maintain a couple of things to ensure the quality teaching and learning. So these are the three important backgrounds. So let's talk about what are different type of interactions we can have online with our camera on. So I couldn't record all these talking videos with my camera on because my computer cannot handle that much of resource hunger. I'm sorry, that my computer cannot handle that much resource demand. You may think that putting a little person who's talking to the corner of the screen may not consume too much memory, but actually does. Okay, so you probably won't see me won't see my video on these lecture videos, but I'll try my best. So anyway, let's go back to the slide. So I thought about, this thing when we consider both instructors and students. There are total 4 different type of communication or interaction in online space. So instructor can be very, very engaged, and or instructor can be very, very passive, right? They are nearly in a standby mode. So is a student. They can be very, very engaged whenever they discuss something. They can be very, very, passive. They are nearly in standby mode. Hear something that is presented by the instructor. So when both students and instructors are very active and very engaged manner, we can consider that as online conference type. Both parties have a list of topics they wanted to discuss. So in this case, we are resoluted, we are determined to work on something together, sharing, ideas with each other. That is very good. And I don't expect this happen until we got to the project part, which is the third component of our class. That's it. And the next mode of interaction is when instructor is very, very engaged, and then students are in a standby. Not to say that students are think as they listen. It's just they're waiting on, they're trying to listen to the instructor, whatever they're saying, okay, as part. So that I call it as a live classroom session. So I'll do the most of talking here, and you'll be listening, and you'll be asking questions whenever it is necessary. Okay, and then third mode is the virtual office hour. As you can see, students are very engaged. They have an active list of questions. They have a list of questions. They're in a very active mode. They're trying to clarify something with the instructor. Instructors are fairly passive. They are expecting students to ask. So that is going to be happening in my virtual office hour. And the last, classification is something may not be very, very common. What happens when both students and the instructors are in a very, very passive mode, standby, waiting on the other person, the other party to speak up first. That is what I call it, the live standby mode. This is actually quite useful, and we're gonna exercise this online component in online format of this class. So I would say while camera is on, both parties will work on their own tasks. Talk to each other only when it is necessary. Okay, so you can imagine this as a sort of in-class exercise solution type of session where I give you a list of questions that you solve, and I'm waiting on you to finish those questions, the problems, and then after you're finished, I offer some explanations on your questions and problems. So meaning that I'll be waiting on the other end while you working on your own end, but the condition is we turn the camera on for some of the added advantages doing so may bring to us. Okay, so the 4 different mode of communication that we will utilize them all. So this is our weekly arrangement. So I think the reason why I introduced this first is because there's a combination of those in our weekly arrangement of the class. So for Monday, nothing is going to happen on Monday other than me releasing a pre-recorded lecture by around 5 p.m. And immediately after the video is released, you can actually start study it on your own pace using the released pre-recorded lecture. Okay, you don't have to, but you could. Okay, you don't have to, but you could. It connects to the Tuesday schedule. I'm gonna release a assignment that is due by 7 p.m. on every Tuesdays, and you need to rely on the pre-recorded lecture to work on your assignment. Okay, in other words, There will be no active lecturing on my end on Tuesday class other than the pre-recorded lecture. So if you have studied prior to this Tuesday, what you can do is you can just start working on your assignment and submit it before the deadline. If you haven't started before Tuesday, you can start to watch your video from 5:30 p.m. and see if you can finish the assignment until 7 p.m. And what I would do, I will be accompanying. Okay, I will turn on my camera. For all of you who's attending the live standby session, will also require the camera. And you will be working on your end. I'll be working on my end. Okay? Immediately after the live standby session, I will start my virtual office hour until 9:30 p.m. So you can book a time with me. You can actually sit in my office, in my virtual office hour. And the Thursday class, that will have a live classroom. That's if you remember, that's when I do the most of talking, and you mostly do the listening. Okay. So I'm trying not to introduce any new topics on the live classroom session, other than first, I give you a list of housekeeping items or some other administrative stuff that things need to be shared among all of us. And number two is I may make some comments on the pre-recorded video I have released on Monday, as well as some comments on your assignments that you have submitted in 7 p.m. Tuesday. Okay, so that is what live classroom is planned for. And I don't expect that lasts very long, okay, because in online it's fairly difficult to concentrate. I'm thinking probably 1 hour at maximum, if not shorter, if not much shorter than that. And I will also release another pre-recorded lecture on the Thursday class. You see, I'm trying to reduce the amount of time that I have to demonstrate something on live in front of you, okay? So I try to capture all these things into pre-recorded lecture so you can use those recorded lectures, okay? And I'll also give you a weekend action items so that you can work on something based on the action items. It could be new problem set. It could be list of things you need to do. I'm not planning to introduce a lot of new problem sets. Okay, sometimes it could be as simple as go back and continue to work on your homework number 4, or please review assignment you have submitted on Tuesday. Things like that. So the idea is keep you moving. Keep you moving. Again, I'll have my virtual office hour ready immediately after the live classroom session until 9:30 p.m. You can book a time. I will show you how to book a time with me later in a separate video. And for the live standby session, your attendance is not mandatory. Okay? But if you join, there is an added advantage of studying this thing together type of atmosphere. You can also quietly ask me questions through the online conferencing platform we'll be using together. So as you work on assignment, if you want me to clarify something, you can ask me in the live standby session, okay? Because I'll be always waiting for you on the other end. And that is an advantage, okay? But I'm going to make March 24 live standby session mandatory for everybody because we don't have a class on 17th. So the first ever the live standby session is going to be March 24. Therefore, I require you to attend the very first live standby session. For the live classroom session, your attendance is actually required. I will also do a lot of those conventional check-in thing. Okay, here are the changes in grading. So I did made these adjustments in order to consider the current situation. In online condition, unfortunately, there are lots of temptations on your end, right, to engage into some kind of opportunistic behavior. So to prevent that or to reduce the impact of those things, I made the following adjustment. For example, the final exam has reduced from 400 to 250. Final exam is going to be, unless school mentions something else, I'm expecting to be things that you can take on your own place, but I'm going to be requiring you to use browser. And participation lockdown browser and the monitoring turned on. I'll give you some guideline by the time. And I also increased the participation and learning efforts. Now it is 200. It was 150. Again, this is a very subjective assignment based on my own assessment of your efforts. So make sure you demonstrate your learning efforts. Make sure let me remember your name for good reason. Number 3 is individual assignment has reduced from 350 to 300. And project write-up at 150 so that I can let you work more on the project. And in-class quiz and assignment has increased from 100 to 200 because we'll have more in-class assignment than I originally planned it was. The total did not change. It's again 1100 score. That is what it is. But lastly, these are additional tools that you need to have. These are all free tools, by the way. It won't cost you a dime. But I'll be introducing how to use those tools in a separate video. These are very important tools. You need to be able to use these tools to be able to communicate properly with your teammates, with me, and complete homework and avoid getting behind for the announcement and things like that. Okay, so for this video, I'm going to pause here. If you have any questions for things I've discussed in this particular video, please send me an email or send me a message and let me know your concern. Okay, thank you very much.